Hi there, this is James Swanwick, and you're listening to the Alcohol-Free Lifestyle Podcast, where you learn how to take back control over alcohol and live a life of health, wealth, love, and happiness.
Hi, this is Roseanne sitting in for James on his podcast. I'm an enrollment and client journey coach with Project 90, which is one of the several programs we offer people to help them change their relationship to alcohol. I believe I have absolutely one of the best jobs in the world because I get to witness so many people transform their lives inside 90 days simply by putting alcohol to the side and seeing what happens. Today, I'd like to introduce you to one of those people that I watched transform. He's going to talk about a phrase that he coined inside of Project 90 called the Domino effect. We have with us Danny Ceballos, who is 57 years old from the Bay Area in California. Danny is an entrepreneur, executive coach, and leadership strategist with Unleashed Consulting. Welcome, Danny.
Great. Thanks, Roseanne. I appreciate the invitation. Delighted to be here.
Oh, we're happy to have you. Hey, how many days alcohol-free are you today?
Oh my goodness. So let's see, 90, if I do the math, 137. So at about 4.5 months.
Ooh, congratulations.
Thank you. Cheers.
I want to start today with telling people about what life was like before you decided to take this journey. What were you struggling with? What was your decision point for taking action?
Yeah, so I don't know if my story is any different than a lot of other folks. So it probably is in a lot of ways. So for me, alcohol was not an issue until it became an issue. And then all of a sudden it would not go away. So, right. So I often, as I've been going through this, I often think that there's something about, we can, maybe talk about this in a little bit, but the idea that first drink doesn't lie to me. It doesn't lie to you. It says, hey, if you drink me, you're going to have a good time and feel relaxed. The problem is the second drink that says, I'm going to be just like the first drink. And then the third drink, which is the same thing. And I found when those things started to happen, it was too late. So I was trying everything over the past 3 years, I think, to mitigate, to moderate, to fool myself, to game myself, to do it. And nothing stuck. I had also come out of a really painful divorce, was starting, my business was starting to grow. There was all this stuff going on here. But I remember thinking back, I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was taking a walk with my dog and I was listening to some inspirational podcast. And I remember thinking at the time, because it asked me to think of the one thing that was really getting in the way of my being successful, like the one thing that you remove that, release that, and it's like the dam will explode. And I was like, it's drinking. It's my drinking. It robs me of a number of hours every day because I'm just lost in whatever. The next day, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes was miserable. And as I shared with you, Roseanne, in one of my first posts, how Mondays, it was great to get my Mondays back. So anyway, it was not an abrupt thing that happened for me. It was like, wait a minute, I'm trying everything. It's not working. And I'm having the same conversation with myself that I've been having for the past 3 years. So that's when.
Did you notice any health effects or anything like that?
Yeah. So it's really funny. So I was very much trying to lose weight, to get on top of fitness stuff, a whole bunch of health stuff, and was making progress, but I could not lose. I just kept gaining these few pounds back and just never lost them. And so that was one thing, is that, once I cut 720 calories out of my day and continued with this.
I can attest that your face is much thinner.
Right? Yeah. So I lost 10 pounds in the 90 days, and I'm not a big guy to begin with. So,
can you say that again? I didn't hear. How much weight did you lose in the
10 pounds in the 90 days, and it stayed off. Yeah. Which is, it's fine, but it's significant for me because I didn't think I even had 10 pounds to lose. I thought I had just a few pounds. So that's great. And it's been done really healthy. So between that and that was kind of the obvious stuff, but just the lack of energy towards the end of the evening. I mean, it's things like that that were really getting in the way of my feeling good. And just, again, those Mondays, man, the Mondays, I'm realizing now, even though I haven't drank for quite a while, Mondays still suck, right? They're still hard. I tend to not have eaten well necessarily on Sunday and don't feel great, but I feel like a billion times better and love, much prefer to look at myself in the mirror now on Monday than I ever did in the past. So that was huge.
How about relationships? Have you noticed any difference? Like what was happening in your relationships, or was anything happening in your relationships as a result of?
Well, I'll always, going through a divorce was no fun. And, to my dying day, I'll put blame on both sides of the equation.
As you should.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. But I know that was that my drinking and it's my ex-husband. So I've been an out gay man for many, many years. But both of us not doing well with the booze. So I can think back of just some really horrific Technicolor arguments that would not have happened were it not for the martinis that we both became very, very fond of. So in that way, it certainly impacted my relationships to get to the starting point. And since then, what I've noticed, we're recording this during the pandemic and I'm not out and about a lot. But I have core friends and family that I continue to be with and associate with, and they have noticed the change in my being able to be more present, more focused.
Are you more calm by any chance?
I am more calm. I am absolutely more calm. Yeah, that's something that's really interesting, and kind of the psychophysiology of it really supports what happens is our brain is rewiring, right, in a lot of ways. So, we start forming new habits, new neural pathways, all that stuff. But the other thing is that our brain is doing some things to help us go into the more thoughtful part of ourselves. So we're able to, I talk often about the idea of the saboteurs and the sage, and the saboteurs are the negative thinking and the sage is the positive, peaceful, calmer, more thoughtful part of our minds. And I can access that so much easier now. It's right there. It's right there for me to get to. And with drinking, it was always in a fog. It was a bit distorted. So.
I do want to go to that post that you talk about, because that was just such a big wow for me to watch as well in your journey. So this was 12 days in. And you are looking in the mirror in your bathroom and going, wow, this is the first Monday in a long time where I am okay with looking in the mirror. Tell me about what's going on then. And
that was a biggie. And I'm so glad you remember that, because I keep forgetting about it. And
it was so impactful. So yeah, I hope you can share it with everybody else.
Yeah, it was exactly what you said. So it was just this realization of, wiping the steam off the mirror after a shower on a Monday and being like, okay, you still look like crap, but you look like a lot better version of crap than you normally do. And I mean, significantly, and that I could focus and that I could see, and it wasn't cloudy, and I didn't feel that sense of just lethargy and lethargy and tiredness and it didn't feel all that. So it showed in my eyes. So I looked right into my eyes and I was like, holy shit, this is working.
Well, I think you mentioned that you were up earlier, that you were ready to tackle the day, as opposed to this mindset like, oh my gosh, I have to make the first call. And then this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was missing out on, it was not a proud, I think there were client calls. There was different things that I was rescheduling on a continual basis on Mondays, because I was never able to be, or often wasn't able to be as present and as in touch as I wanted to be. So that particular Monday, I realized, first of all, I had gotten up early. I was working on a morning ritual for getting to bed early and getting up early, and it was working. And I was able to get my day started at 9 a.m. instead of 1 p.m. So
That's definitely an upgrade.
huge. Yeah, huge.
So you are great with coining phrases. And one of the phrases that you coined and were challenging people with during your time there was recognizing the domino effect of, what was going on during that 90 days. Tell me a little bit about what you were experiencing when you found, or kind of recognized that phrase.
Yeah. So, I'm a big believer in the work that I do with clients but also in my life around systems and appreciating how important systems are when we're looking at any kind of problem that shows up over and over and over again. So my drinking was clearly a system problem, meaning that there were a lot of things in my life that were interconnected. It wasn't just, whether I'm drinking or not drinking. It's that I was suffering in this part of my life, or this part was frustrating, and that was resulting in drinking, and then the drinking would result in something else. So the domino effect says, it's one thing to recognize all that and understand why we engage in habits that don't work for us. But it's another thing to start realizing when they do work for us and start tracking that. So the domino effect says, basically for me, what it was saying is that what happened when I stopped drinking? Well, when I stopped drinking, first of all, I saved a bunch of money, right? I totaled that up the other day, and I've saved about $1,000, and that's one effect. My Mondays are back. That's another effect. I lost a few pounds. That's another effect. But beyond that, what else happens? That's just the first domino. Then what happens when I feel better about myself, when I have a bit more time in my schedule and a few more bucks in my pocket? Well, I started looking around for other opportunities because I wanted to do some other things with my health and fitness. So I stumbled upon a virtual, 100-mile challenge, enrolled in that, started doing that, found that I had more energy and the time to do that. So what happens when I did that? Well, once I did that, I started getting into other kinds of health and fitness. Like there was just this domino effect that ultimately resulted in better relationships with my family and friends, better business opportunities. The list there are 1,000 different things that happen, but they weren't necessarily, the thing with the domino effect is that it's not just the one thing that happens. It's the things that happen from that, and then the things that happen from that. So I love the idea of, if you've ever played Jenga, the game Jenga, where you're pulling out all the different pieces and only one, you pull out this piece, nothing happens. This piece, nothing. But one or two pieces, you pull it and the whole thing gives way. And I feel like stopping drinking was that Jenga piece for me. I pulled that out, and then a whole bunch of things came from that I didn't anticipate. That's what's really cool about this. Like, you can think about stopping drinking. You're like, okay, if I did that, then, this would happen, that. But there are a lot of unanticipated benefits that are the results of the dominoes falling that you don't see until you look back at them.
Right.
So, yeah.
Just a quick message from our show sponsor, Project 90, the program that helps you enjoy life more by getting ultimate power over alcohol. Project 90 helps high achievers regain their confidence, be more present with friends and family, get clear, reduce stress and anxiety, sleep better, increase focus and productivity, and feel a whole lot better. Project 90 does this by helping members quit alcohol for at least 90 days, whilst providing 6 months of accountability and support. The program has an 87% success rate of members reaching at least 90 consecutive days alcohol-free on their first attempt. Members get a one-on-one accountability coach, a community of like-minded people to interact with, 100% privacy and confidentiality, and what's more, members tell us that it's fun. Project 90 members are mostly over the age of 35, entrepreneurs, executives, top professionals, retirees. So if you're in your late 30s or 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, or older, and you consider yourself a high achiever and you're ready to upgrade your life by quitting alcohol for at least 90 days, maybe more, then you can have a free 45-minute exploratory call with one of Project 90's former clients, now coaches. If you'd like to book that call, you can go to jamesswanwick.com/schedule. That's jamesswanwick.com/schedule. Or if you're on your phone in the US right now, you can text me at the number 44222. Just send me the word Project 90 Send that to 44222 and the word is Project 90 and we'll email you a schedule link. Okay, let's get back to today's episode.
Now, I want to be pretty honest with people because not everybody, this isn't always puppies and kittens and rainbows, to get through these 90 days. It's not like you enroll and it's like, voila. So tell me about some of the things that weren't so easy for you.
Yeah. So there's, one of the coaches in this program or the main coach, his name is Kevin. And Kevin has this great expression that I never heard before about, it's not all rainbows and unicorns, or it can be all rainbows and unicorns, but there are even dark colors in the rainbow. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. That's it. Like everything is great, but there are certainly dark colors. So things like, it's not the, you still run into problems. You still, no matter where you go, there you are kind of thing, right? So it's not like I cleared up everything by not drinking, but it puts it into clearer focus. It certainly takes the edge off of a lot of things so that I can be clearer in that focus. But no, it ain't all, that's the one thing is that we start selling ourselves on that, everything is great. And there's life still happens. There's still, I'm not going to get political, but there's still, the world is shifting and changing, and that's still out there. So how we react to that, I think changes in a great deal. It's changed for me in a great way. But it doesn't necessarily, there are still those problems out there. So there will, all those things will still be there. So, is that what you were getting at? Well,
I wanted to know if there was something that if there's anything that you can think of that you could share where you really hit a bump in the road and you're like, this isn't easy, but you got through it,
Yeah, good point. Yeah, so I knew that when I reconnect, so my ex-husband and I are still very good friends, but it was a pain in the ass to get to be friends. We finally got to be friends, but I realized a good portion of when we get together was still around drinking. So I was terrified of that. Not terrified, but I was very worried about that we wouldn't be able to get through that. And I found out it was, that was more on me than it was on him and for me to get through it. So to kind of push through that, even if it was uncomfortable and knowing that there was something that I could lose. I mean, there are all these things that one may lose when one doesn't drink anymore, relationships, dependencies, habits, socializing habits that we had in the past. So, you may need to give up some of those things, but the trade-off is well worth it. So that was one thing, was getting through that bump.
Tell me how you did make it through though. I know because I walked through this with you and I remember it being very difficult, but do you mind sharing what helped you get through it?
Yeah, I think there's this, so to have a plan. So I had a plan when I went to visit him. This was he lives many, many hours away from me. So we were going to spend a couple weeks together actually. Having a plan for what I would do in the moment was good, right? Just to have it, even though it wasn't a perfect plan. And then to be able to, while we were together, to be able to turn to this community, the P90 community, and just get inspiration and motivation and support from folks that have already been in this place. And to have, a frank conversation with him about, I'm not doing this and this is the reason I'm not doing it. And it's all fine. It hasn't, it's not about teetotaling and maybe it's not even forever, but for right now, this is important for me and my health and happiness. And so I think, there's just a lot of value in having a plan, doing some preparing and having the resources when you're in the moment to be able to turn to should you need them.
Good. Well, speaking of that, and you did make it through that trip, and then I think another, and I think the second trip was far easier for you.
Yes, good memory. Yeah, very good memory.
Yeah, I love watching everybody's journey.
A lot.
Huh?
It was a lot easier, and there's just more value in the relationship now because we're past that. So it was,
Well, and I think that is that is a valuable lesson that you're sharing with people is that, having a plan, making it through and knowing the second time will be better and the third
Mhm.
time will be better than that.
Mhm.
I want to transition, to your 90 days, because most people, like, there's something that happens, right? And for me, it was maybe at day 75, like, yeah, I'm done. I don't want this, But for you at 90, you're like, still wondering what's in it for me. And I think, where are you today, by the way?
Yeah, that's what you didn't ask me before.
Ah!
Yeah. Yeah. I am still not, I'm not signing off on the lifelong commitment to anything. I just don't, I'm not going to do that. It's really clear to me. So a few things have happened over the past few weeks, right? One is, I'm with you. I believe there's a switch that happens for people, and it tends to happen in the 90 days. And for me, the switch has just gone much slower. It's gone outside of the 90 days, but the switch is definitely coming. And what's happening now for me that I find really interesting, I was just talking to somebody about this. It's almost an irrelevant question of, should I drink? Will I drink? Will I not? It just doesn't have any. It's like, well, will I have mayonnaise today? That's like, it's, well, maybe I will, maybe I won't. And why are we even talking about this? It's like, it just doesn't feel like it needs to occupy the bandwidth. Yeah.
And I do feel that this is how we're taught in Project 90 is the best way to think in terms of, hey, here's what's going on for me today. It's pretty darn cool, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When I reach for that, is it going to offer me something I don't have today? I don't know about the future. I think that it's too hard to think about the future. So we try and do it in 3 months at a time.
Yeah, that's exactly. And that's where I am exactly right now, is thinking about it 3 months at a time. And it's super helpful. I also think there's something about when one's mind starts to move towards that I'm going towards something as opposed to moving away from something, that's a big deal for me, right? So it's almost like, yes, I'm 137 days alcohol free, but I'm day one of the rest of my, not to get too Pollyannish about it, but I'm kind of in day one of this next thing that I'm really looking forward to because I'm not drinking. So instead of like, I'm celebrating the fact that I'm avoiding drinking. I'm kind of celebrating the fact that there's something else that's coming that I'm moving towards. I'm being compelled towards as opposed to moving away from. Does that make sense?
Totally. As a matter of fact, from an enrollment coach's point of view, sometimes it's the hardest thing to explain to people.
Yeah.
Is when you take off the ball and chain, that I call it, there's this aura and this existence about you that people want to be around you. Like, oh, you're cool. Like, I wasn't cool before. I may not be cool now, but
like, you were and you are and you always will.
No, but there's this sense of calm and joy that's uninhibited, whereas those saboteurs that you're talking about come in really hard. And when you kind of clear the path of that ball and chain and that internal conversation, you're like, oh, what other part of the world can I visit?
That's exactly right. Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't think either of us would want to put the brakes on that, know.
Exactly. Because there's there's a whole new thing out there that's calling to me. But it is that flip from staying away from something, which can occupy a good portion of energy, instead looking forward to something and knowing it's there. Maybe I don't know exactly what it is, but it's getting clearer and clearer. So there's also some really interesting, I think, kind of brain psychology around some of this stuff too, that there's something called mirror neurons in our brain. And they're the neurons that reflect. So if you're exuding calmness and grace and thoughtfulness and all that, my mirror neurons will pick up on that, and I want to do the same thing. I want to behave the same way. So likewise, so they say, in my language, like your saboteurs will ignite my saboteurs. So if you're hypervigilant,
Negative, yeah,
right, exactly, it'll ignite mine, and we'll go into this vicious circle and this community of complaint, and it'll all be good. And likewise, the opposite is also true. So when I'm closer to my sage, my inner, deeper, wiser part of myself that I really had a hard time accessing when I was drinking, a lot easier now, your mirror neurons and yourself will reflect the same thing, and it'll become a virtuous cycle as opposed to a destructive cycle.
I need to look that up, because that's the scientific way of explaining what I'm trying to tell people. Like, no, I swear there's something that happens. Jobs become easier. People see, you know, you can kind of wipe away the negativity that's coming from another human being and not always taking responsibility for it.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. I like to think, for me, I'm as you said, I'm an executive coach, and I like to think I'm a kind of a rocky road, blue sky coach. So I'm I love the idea of things like the law of attraction. And, if you're familiar with that, and what I put out to the universe is what I'll bring into the universe. But I'm also, there's physiology, there's neurophysiology to support a lot of that. So these mirror neurons are part of what it's like. Oh, it's not just, Northern California woo-woo kinds of, it's got an edge. It's got a rocky road to it too, that has to do with our physiology.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you talk to James and it's like, what exactly are we doing? He's using some of the latest and greatest neuroscience concepts to change habits, right?
Right on. Yeah. Love that. Exactly. Yeah. One of those things, and you and I just talked a little bit about this in another forum, was that, 90 days is not just an easy number to remember. It's a great number for solidifying a new habit. So, kind of the old way of thinking about habit formation was it takes 21 days. And it turns out that's not even close, that it's closer to 66 days. But even more so, to really reinforce it and make sure that we have something that we can go into autopilot around in a lot of ways, 90 days is a good mark. So that's part of, I think, what's in James's mind is he didn't make it a 60-day program. He made it a 90-day program for some good reasons.
Yeah, I do think the pop comes later. So
yeah, exactly. The pop.
Those people that are working on the 30-day program, 30 days and reflect on what's going on and commit to the next 30 to see how that goes, and commit to the next 30. Right? Because each one is progressive.
That's right. And there are different tools. I mean, it's not only learning the tools at the beginning, but, you need some time to be able to apply them to work. It's like being trained in a kitchen and saying, okay, here's your knife and your fork and your blender and your bowl. Now go make a souffle. And it's like, well, what? You can't just give me the tools. The tools are great, but I need some time and, to be able to master and apply and put some sophistication around you. So, yeah.
Oh, Danny, we just loved having you in this program. You're just a delight to listen to, with all the science and application and everything else that is kind of going through your brain, and then you take the time to teach us. So thank you.
My pleasure.
I want to kind of close out. I was going to ask you about what's the one thing that you learned, but we talked about so many things. So.
Yeah.
Why do you believe that I guess we can talk about community, because we know why was the community so important to you during this process?
Well, I'm realizing now, actually, through some additional kinds of research stuff that I've been doing, that there's good habit formation often depends on community at some level. So you can't do it on your own. You can't, let's say, there's a small, I think about people who quit drinking on a bell curve, right? And there's a small fraction at the end that can do it all on their own, but the majority of folks are in the middle, where you need a few things. One is a plan, 2 are the tools, 3 is support, and 4 is community, whether it's, so that's, and now I'm realizing that as on this latest bit of research I've done, that most good habit formation is really dependent on a community, right? It's easy to rise and fall with a community. So I so value that we have that. And, from all over the world and different, sorry, my dog.
That's okay.
That community is an essential piece of the new habit formation that needs to happen. So again, it's all part of, the whole systems thinking and how different things support. But this community is really cool, right? This community is from all over the world.
Right.
It's crazy, right? And I've never interacted with so many people around something so personal and private from around the world. So different perspectives, different ways of looking at things. And it's pretty cool. It's actually very cool.
It is cool. Well, Danny, I got to let you get back to your job. I could talk to you all day long.
That was fun. Love that.
I really appreciate the time you gave us and all the insight that you shared about your journey. And it's just been a privilege to watch you grow and teach us as you grow. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Roseanne. It was a real pleasure. I really enjoyed this. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to the Alcohol-Free Lifestyle podcast. I want to load you up with some free stuff right now. So if you want to go to jamesswanwick.com/guide, I will send you my Quit Alcohol Guide, which has helped six-figure entrepreneurs and top professionals reduce or quit drinking. You can also text the word QUIT GUIDE to the number 44222 if you're in the US, of course. It doesn't really work anywhere outside of the US. But if you're in the US on your mobile phone and you'd like that guide, text the word QUIT GUIDE to the number 44222, or you can go to jamesswanwick.com/guide. If you'd like to schedule a free 15-minute call with one of my top coaches, just an exploratory call to see if or how we can help you, then you can go to jamesswanwick.com/schedule, or you can text the word Project 90 to the number 44222 if you're listening in the US on a mobile phone. That's jamesswanwick.com/schedule, or you can text the word Project 90, that's one word, Project 90, to the number 44222. Feel free to send me a direct message over on my Instagram account, which is @JamesSwanwick. You can also watch video episodes of this podcast and a series of other educational videos on my YouTube channel, which is James Swanwick 1, or you can direct message me on Facebook @JamesSwanwickOfficial. And finally, a request. Would you please now write a short review of the podcast inside of the Apple Podcast app on your phone or on iTunes on your desktop computer? Would you please give the show 5 stars and write a quick 1 or 2 sentence review? This will help the show get in front of even more listeners, potentially transforming someone's life. You can rate and review the show inside of your Apple Podcast app on your phone or over on iTunes on your desktop. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you next time.